The locker room smelled of sweat and chlorine, a humid haze clinging to the air like a secret too heavy to lift. I stood there, towel slipping from my hands, my heart slamming against my ribs as Liam's eyes locked onto mine. In that split second, I knew nothing would ever be the same. My name is Ethan Carter, and I'm 18, a senior at Westbridge High in suburban Ohio. I've spent years hiding who I am, burying my truth under layers of careful smiles and practiced deflections. Growing up in a small town where everyone knows your business, you learn to keep your secrets close. But Liam Harper, my best friend since we were kids stealing candy from the corner store, had a way of seeing through me. He was the golden boy, quarterback, prom king, the kind of guy who could charm anyone with a grin. Me, I was the quiet one, the artist who sketched in the margins of notebooks, always a step behind his spotlight. That day in the locker room wasn't supposed to happen. It was just another Tuesday after swim practice, the team long gone, leaving me alone to linger under the hot shower, trying to wash away the ache of keeping my feelings for Liam locked up. I'd been in love with him for years, a slow-burning crush that started when we were 14, sprawled on his bedroom floor playing video games. His laugh, his easy confidence, the way he'd sling an arm around me like it was nothing at all carved a space in my chest I couldn't fill with anyone else. I didn't hear him come back. The showers were loud, the tiles slick under my feet, and I was lost in my head, replaying the way he'd high-fived me after practice, his hand lingering on mine a second too long. Then the water shut off, and there he was, standing at the edge of the lockers, his gym bag slung over his shoulder. I froze, the towel half draped over my hips, my skin prickling under his gaze. Ethan. His voice was low, confused, but there was something else in its mething that made my stomach twist. Liam. My words caught in my throat. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the tiles. I'd been caught, not just physically exposed, but emotionally raw, my secret screaming in the silence between us. He didn't move, didn't look away. His blue eyes, usually so warm, were unreadable, and I couldn't tell if it was judgment or something softer. We'd been inseparable since we were 10, building forts in the woods, sneaking into movies, sharing secrets under the stars. But I'd never told him the biggest one, that I was gay, that I loved him in a way he could never love me back. And now, standing there, I felt like I'd betrayed him just by existing. Yo, you okay? He finally said, stepping closer. His voice was gentle, but it didn't ease the panic clawing at me. I fumbled with the towel, wrapping it tighter, my face burning. I didn't mean to. I thought everyone was gone. It's cool, man. He shrugged, but his eyes stayed on me, searching. You don't have to hide. You know. I laughed, a shaky, bitter sound. You don't get it, Liam. The words slipped out before I could stop them, sharp and raw. He frowned, tilting his head like he was trying to solve a puzzle. I wanted to run, to erase this moment, but my feet were glued to the floor. What don't I get? He asked, his voice quieter now, almost careful. He dropped his bag, the thud echoing in the empty room. I couldn't answer. How do you tell your straight best friend that you've been in love with him for years? That every time he talks about his girlfriend, it feels like a knife? That you're terrified of losing him because of who you are? The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then he took another step closer, and I swear my heart stopped. Ethan, talk to me, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. What's going on with you? I wanted to lie, to brush it off like I always did. But something in his eyes, something real and unguarded, made me falter. Maybe it was the way he said my name, soft and steady, like he was anchoring me. Or maybe I was just tired of carrying the weight alone. I'm not who you think I am, I said finally, my voice breaking. The words felt like glass in my throat, sharp and irreversible. His brow furrowed, but he didn't back away. Instead, he reached out, his hand hovering near my shoulder, like he wasn't sure if touching me would break something. "Then tell me who you are," he said. And just like that, the dam broke. I told him everything: how I'd known I was gay since I was 12, how I'd fought it, hated myself for it, how every time I was near him, I had to pretend I didn't feel what I felt. I told him about the nights I'd lie awake, imagining a world where I could be honest, where I didn't have to hide. I told him I loved him, the words spilling out like a confession to a priest, desperate and raw. Liam didn't say anything at first. He just stood there, his hand still hovering, his eyes locked on mine. The locker room felt smaller, the air thicker, like the world was holding its breath. I braced myself for the worst: for him to walk away, to call me a freak, to end a decade of friendship in one brutal moment. But he didn't. Instead, he closed the distance between us, his hand landing on my shoulder, warm and steady. "Ethan," he said, his voice rough with something I couldn't name. "You're still you. And you're still my best friend." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His words were a lifeline, but they weren't enough. I wanted Maureen more, but I didn't know how to ask for it. All I knew was that the boy I loved was standing in front of me, seeing me for the first time, and I had no idea what came next. The locker room was a tomb of silence after Liam's words, his hand still heavy on my shoulder. I wanted to believe him, to cling to the idea that nothing had changed, but the air between us crackled with something new, something dangerous. I pulled away, my towel now a flimsy shield, and muttered, "I need to get dressed." Liam nodded, stepping back, but his eyes didn't leave me. "Yeah, sure," he said, grabbing his bag and turning toward the benches. I hurried to my locker, yanking on my jeans and a faded t-shirt, my hands shaking. Every sound: the clank of metal, the squeak of my sneakers felt amplified, like the world was screaming my vulnerability back at me. We didn't talk as we left the school, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the parking lot. Liam's truck was parked next to my beat-up Honda, and for a moment, I thought we'd just go our separate ways, pretend the last 10 minutes never happened. But he stopped me before I could unlock my car. "Ethan, wait." I turned, my heart thudding. He looked different out here, less like the untouchable quarterback and more like the kid I'd known forever, the one who'd once cried when his dog died. "What?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. He ran a hand through his blonde hair, exhaling. "You just dropped a bomb on me. Man, I need time to process this." "Process what?" I snapped, anger flaring. "That I'm gay. That I've been lying to you. Or that I stopped." The word love too heavy to say again. "All of it," he said, his voice steady but laced with something raw. "I'm not mad. Okay. I didn't know." He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time, and it hurt more than I expected. "Yeah, well, now you do," I said, turning away. I didn't want his pity, or worse, his rejection dressed up as kindness. I got in my car and drove off, leaving him standing there, his silhouette shrinking in my rearview mirror. The next few days were torture. At school, Liam acted normal to normal. He still sat with me at lunch, still cracked jokes, but there was a distance now, a hesitation in his laugh. I hated it. I hated myself for telling him, for ruining the one thing that had always felt safe. My sketchbook became my refuge, filled with half-finished drawings of his face, each line a confession I could never take back. Friday night, he texted me, "Meet me at the lake." 8 p.m. The lake was our spot, a quiet place where we'd skip rocks and talk about nothing. I almost didn't go, but the pull of him was too strong. When I got there, he was already waiting, sitting on the hood of his truck, the water reflecting the last streaks of sunset. "You came," he said, sliding off the hood. His voice was soft, almost relieved. Didn't have anything better to do. I lied, shoving my hands in my pockets. The air was cool, the kind of autumn chill that made you feel alive and exposed all at once. He didn't laugh. Instead, he stepped closer, his sneakers crunching on the gravel. I've been thinking about what you said. About everything. My stomach twisted. And I don't know what to say, he admitted, his eyes searching mine. I've never thought about you like that. But I don't want to lose you. Ethan, you're my best friend. That hasn't changed. I wanted to scream that it had changed, that I couldn't go back to pretending. But his words stopped me. There was something in his voice, something honest, vulnerable that made me pause. What do you want from me, Liam? I asked, my voice barely steady. I want you to be you, he said. No more hiding. Not from me. It sounded simple, but it wasn't. Being me meant risking everything: our friendship, my place in this town, the fragile peace I'd built. But looking at him, his face lit by the fading light, I felt a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he could handle it. We sat by the lake for hours, talking like we used to, but different. I told him about the fear, the shame, the nights I'd spent wondering if I'd ever be enough. He listened, really listened, and for the first time, I felt seen. Not judged, not pitied, just seen. But then he said something that stopped me cold. You know I'm with Jess, right? His girlfriend. Of course. Jessica, the cheerleader with the perfect smile, the one everyone expected him to marry someday. Yeah, I said, my voice flat. I know. He looked at me, his expression torn. I don't know how to do this, Ethan, but I'm trying. I nodded, swallowing the ache in my chest. He was trying. That was more than I'd expected, but less than I'd hoped. As we drove back to town, the silence between us was heavy, but not empty. It was filled with questions, with possibilities, with the weight of a friendship teetering on the edge of something new. The weeks that followed were a tightrope walk. Liam and I fell back into our rhythm, but it was different now, like a song played in a new key. Every glance, every casual touch, carried a weight I couldn't ignore. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for him to pull away completely, but he didn't. He was there, still my best friend, still Liam, but I could feel the space between us shifting, growing, shrinking, never settling. School was a minefield. Westbridge High wasn't exactly a haven for kids like me. The word fag got tossed around like a football, and I'd learned to keep my head down, to blend in. But now, with Liam knowing, I felt exposed, like everyone could see the truth written on my face. I caught myself watching him in the halls, laughing with his teammates, his arm around Jessica. Each time, it was a punch to the gut, a reminder of what I could never have. One day after art class, I was at my locker when Jessica cornered me. Her blonde ponytail swung as she leaned in, her voice low. What's going on with you and Liam? She asked, her eyes sharp. Nothing, I said, too quickly. My sketchbook was clutched to my chest, a flimsy barrier. She raised an eyebrow. He's been weird lately. Distracted. And you're always around. Her tone wasn't cruel, just probing, but it made my skin crawl. We're friends, I said, forcing a smile. Always have been. She didn't look convinced, but she let it go, walking away with a glance that said she wasn't done with me. I leaned against my locker, my heart racing. If Jessica suspected something, it was only a matter of time before the rumors started. Small towns love their gossip, and I was the perfect target. That night, I went to Liam's house, something we hadn't done since the locker room. His parents were out, and the house felt too big, too quiet. We sat on his couch, a pizza box between us, The TV playing some action movie neither of us cared about. Jess talked to me today, I said, picking at a slice. He froze, his soda halfway to his mouth. What did she say? She thinks something's up with us. I couldn't look at him. She's not wrong, is she? He set the can down. Hard. Ethan, I told you. I'm trying to figure this out. It's not simple. I know, I said, my voice tight. But I can't keep doing this. Liam. Pretending everything's fine when it's not. I love you. And it's killing me. He looked at me, his face a storm of emotions, guilt, confusion, something deeper I couldn't name. I don't know what you want me to say, he said finally. I care about you, Ethan, more than anyone. But I'm not like you. The words hit like a slap, even though I'd expected them. Then what are we doing? I asked, standing up. Why are we even here? Because I don't want to lose you, he shouted, standing too. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw him unravel. You think this is easy for me? You think I don't feel something when you look at me like that? I stopped, my breath catching. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know. He ran his hands through his hair, pacing. I've never questioned who I am, Ethan. Never. But now I'm not so sure. The room felt too small, the air too thick. I wanted to reach for him, to pull him close, but I didn't. Instead, I sat back down, my hands shaking. What does that mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He didn't answer right away. He just looked at me, his eyes raw and searching, like he was trying to find something in me that would make sense of it all. It means I need time, he said finally. And I need you to not give up on me. I nodded, even though it hurt. I wanted to believe him, to trust that he was trying. But doubt gnawed at me. What if this was as close as we'd ever get? What if I was just a phase? A question he'd answer and move on from. We didn't talk about it again that night. We watched the movie, ate the pizza, pretended everything was normal. But when I left, his hand brushed mine as he walked me to the door, and it lingered just long enough to make my heart ache. Winter came early to Ohio, the air sharp and biting. Liam and I were still us, but it was a fragile us, held together by unspoken agreements and stolen glances. I tried to give him space, to let him figure it out, but every day felt like a countdown to something I couldn't predict. At school, the rumors started. Whispers in the halls. Sideways looks from guys on the team. Someone had seen us at the lake, sitting too close, talking too long. Small towns don't let secrets breathe, and mine was suffocating. I kept my head down, but Liam noticed. Ignore them, he said one day at lunch, his voice tight. They don't know anything. But they did. Or they thought they did. And that was enough to make my life hell. One afternoon, I found fag scrawled on my locker in black marker. My stomach dropped, and I scrubbed it off before anyone else saw, my hands shaking. I didn't tell Liam. I couldn't. He was already carrying enough. Jessica broke up with him a week later. I found out from someone else, which hurt more than I expected. When I asked him about it, he just shrugged, his eyes distant. It wasn't working, he said. She deserves better. Better than you? I asked, trying to keep my voice light. He looked at me, something flickering in his eyes. Maybe. That night, we ended up at the lake again, the water now a dark mirror under the moon. We sat on the shore, skipping rocks, the cold seeping through our jackets. You ever think about leaving this place? I asked, my breath visible in the air. All the time, he said. You? Yeah. Somewhere I don't have to hide. The word slipped out, heavy and true. He was quiet for a long time, then said, You shouldn't have to hide here. Either. His voice was soft, but it carried a weight that made my chest tighten. I turned to him, my heart pounding. What are you saying? Liam. He didn't look at me. He just stared at the water, his jaw tight. I'm saying I hate that you feel like you have to. I hate that I'm part of it. You're not, I said quickly, but he shook his head. I am. I see it now, the way people look at you, the things they say. And I've been too scared to do anything about it. He turned to me, his eyes fierce. I'm not scared anymore. Before I could respond, he leaned in, his lips brushing mine. It was quick, tentative, but it set my world on fire. I froze, afraid to move, afraid it wasn't real. He pulled back, his face flushed, his eyes wide. I'm sorry, he said, his voice shaking. I didn't mean. Don't. I cut him off, my heart racing. Don't say you're sorry. He nodded, and for a moment, we just sat there, the world spinning around us. I wanted to kiss him again, to hold on to this moment forever. But fear stopped me. What did this mean? Was it real? Or was it just a moment of weakness? A fleeting curiosity? We didn't talk about it on the drive home. But when he dropped me off, he reached for my hand, squeezing it briefly before letting go. We'll figure this out, he said, his voice steady. I wanted to believe him. But as I lay in bed that night, the memory of his lips on mine burning in my mind, I couldn't shake the fear that this was just the beginning of something we weren't ready for. The kiss changed everything. It was a secret we carried, a fragile thing we didn't dare name. At school, we were careful avoiding each other's eyes in the halls, sitting a little farther apart at lunch. But alone, in the quiet moments, the air between us was electric, charged with unspoken questions. The bullying got worse. The word on my locker wasn't a one-time thing. Notes appeared in my backpack. Slurs whispered in the halls. I didn't tell Liam, but he knew. I could see it in the way his jaw clenched, the way his fists curled when he thought I wasn't looking. You need to tell someone, he said one day, cornering me after art class. Who? I asked, my voice bitter. The principal. My parents. They'll just make it worse. Then I'll do something, he said, his eyes blazing. Don't, I said, grabbing his arm. You'll just make yourself a target. He pulled away, his expression hard. I don't care. I'm not letting them hurt you. That afternoon, I saw him confront Jake, one of the football team's worst offenders. They were in the parking lot, voices raised, Liam's face inches from Jake's. I couldn't hear what they said, but Jake backed off, his face pale. Liam walked away, his shoulders tense, and I knew he'd crossed a line for me. That night, he showed up at my house, his knuckles bruised. What did you do? I asked, pulling him inside. Told Jake to back off, he said, his voice low. He won't bother you again. I stared at him, my heart swelling and breaking at the same time. You didn't have to do that. Yeah, I did, he said, his eyes meeting mine. I meant what I said at the lake. Ethan, I'm not scared anymore. We stood there, the space between us shrinking. I wanted to kiss him, to tell him everything I felt, but fear held me back. What if this was temporary? What if he woke up tomorrow and changed his mind? But then he kissed me, slow and deliberate, his hands cupping my face. It wasn't like the lake, this was certain, real. I kissed him back, my hands trembling, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine, his breath warm against my skin. I don't know what I'm doing, he whispered, but I know I want this. I nodded, tears burning my eyes. Me too. We didn't have answers, didn't know what came next. But for the first time, I felt like we were in this together Two boys fumbling through something bigger than us. Something worth fighting for. The world didn't stop for us. School went on. The rumors grew louder. And the weight of our secret pressed harder. Liam and I stole moments when we could late nights at the lake. Quiet drives in his truck, but every touch felt like a risk. Every glance a confession. We were careful, but not careful enough. One day, Jake and his friends cornered me in the bathroom. "So, you and Liam, huh?" Jake sneered, his buddies snickering behind him. Didn't know he was into that. I tried to push past, but they blocked me. My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. "Back off, Jake." He laughed, shoving me against the sink. "Or what? Your boyfriend gonna save you?" Before I could respond, Liam was there, his fist connecting with Jake's jaw. The fight was quick, messy, both of them landing punches before a teacher pulled them apart. Liam's lip was bleeding, but he didn't look away from me, his eyes fierce and unapologetic. We both got suspended for a week. My parents were furious, demanding answers I couldn't give. Liam's dad, a stoic man who rarely spoke, just grounded him. But when we were alone, Liam didn't regret it. "I'd do it again," he said, his voice rough. "No one gets to hurt you." I wanted to believe we could keep this up, that we could carve out a space for us in this town. But the suspension only fueled the rumors. People stared, whispered, judged. My parents started asking questions, their voices sharp with worry. "What's going on with you and Liam?" My mom asked one night, her eyes searching mine. "Nothing," I lied, my throat tight. But I knew they didn't believe me. Liam and I met at the lake that night, the air heavy with the promise of snow. "We can't keep doing this," I said, my voice breaking. "It's too much." He grabbed my hand, his grip tight. "Then we leave," he said. "After graduation. We get out of here, go somewhere we can be us." I stared at him, my heart aching. "You do that? For me?" "For us," he said, his voice steady. "I'm not losing you, Ethan." I kissed him then, under the stars, the cold forgotten. For the first time, I let myself believe in a future where we could be together, where we didn't have to hide. But deep down, I knew it wouldn't be that simple. Spring came, and with it, the end of senior year. Liam and I were counting down the days to graduation, to the moment we could leave Westbridge behind. But the closer we got, the heavier the weight of our secret became. My parents were watching me like hawks, and Liam's dad had started asking questions. The town felt like a noose, tightening with every whisper. One night, my dad found one of my sketches, a drawing of Liam, his face soft and unguarded. "What is this, Ethan?" he asked, his voice low. "Dangerous." I froze, my heart in my throat. "Just a drawing," I said, but my voice shook. He didn't believe me. The fight that followed was brutal, shouting, tears, accusations. "Are you gay?" he demanded, his face red. I couldn't lie anymore. I nodded, and the silence that followed was worse than the yelling. They didn't kick me out, but the house felt like a prison. My mom cried. My dad barely spoke, and I spent most of my time at the lake, waiting for Liam. When I told him, he pulled me into a hug, his arms strong and steady. "We'll get through this," he said. "Together." But it wasn't just my parents. The school was a battlefield. Someone outed us, and the rumors became a wildfire. Liam's teammates turned on him, calling him names, shoving him in the halls. He didn't back down, but I could see the toll it took, the way his shoulders slumped, the way his laugh grew rare. One night, we were at his house when his dad walked in. He'd heard the rumors, seen the bruises. "Is it true?" he asked, his voice cold. "You and Ethan?" Liam didn't hesitate. Yeah, he said, his chin lifted. I love him. The words hit me like a wave, stealing my breath. I'd never heard him say it out loud. Not like that. His dad's face hardened, and he walked out without a word. Liam's hand found mine, squeezing tight, but I could feel him shaking. We were out now, exposed to the world, and there was no going back. Part of me was terrified, but part of me felt free. For the first time, I wasn't hiding, and neither was Liam. Graduation was a blur of caps and gowns, forced smiles, and families pretending everything was fine. Liam and I sat together, our hands brushing under the folds of our robes. We'd made it, but the cost was heavy. My parents were distant. Liam's dad barely acknowledged him, and the town had branded us as outcasts. But we had each other, and that was enough. We left Westbridge a week later, our bags packed in Liam's truck, the open road stretching before us. We didn't have a plan, just a destination, San Francisco, a place where we could be us without fear. The drive was long, filled with music and silence, laughter and tears. We talked about the future, about college, about building a life together. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. One night, we stopped at a diner in the middle of nowhere, the neon sign buzzing in the dark. Over greasy burgers and milkshakes, Liam reached for my hand, his fingers lacing with mine. I'm glad it happened, he said, his voice soft. The locker room. All of it. It brought me to you. I smiled, my heart full. Me too. We weren't naive. We knew the world wouldn't always be kind, that there'd be more battles to fight. But we'd face the worst together: small town hate, family rejection, our own fears, and we'd come out stronger. That moment in the locker room, when I'd stood naked and terrified, had been the start of something bigger. It wasn't just about being caught. It was about being seen, truly seen, for the first time. As we drove into the night, the stars bright above us, I realized something. Love doesn't need to be perfect to be real. It just needs to be brave. And with Liam by my side, I was ready to be brave for the rest of my life.